Hello again. I'm back in the shop today. Glad you could be here with me. Today I'm going to be doing something just a little bit different. I call it lost wood segments or lost segments, however you want to call it. And this is what I'm going to be doing. You can see these big gaping holes in here, this turning. Well, this right here is what comes out of these big gaping holes. Fits right in there like that. They come on out. After I turn the inside, I take them out. And as you can see, these four segments are glued together, but where they're glued to the other pieces, I use hot melt glue on the outside and on the inside so that I can take them out later. Now this piece, the way I got this pattern, I can only use 20 segments per ring. Of course I could use 30 or 40, but I decided on 20 segments per ring to get this pattern to work. But I've never used 20 segments per ring before, but that's okay. We're going to do it anyway. Shouldn't be that big a problem. And to make this, I am going to use the Chief Wear Kits open segment kit. This is the gluing platform I'm going to be using. It's from Chief Wear Kits. I could use my homemade one like it, but I got this, so I might as well use it. And I'm going to be using the big index ring. Now, this is 20 segments, 20 open segments per ring, which means I have to have 40 indexes. Equally spaced 40 indexes. So I'm going to use the 120 index ring, and I'm going to use every third index. So that'll give me 40 indexes. What I'm going to do is mark one of them with a red felt tip marker. I got felt, here's a blue one. I got a red one here somewhere. Here we go. I'll mark one with a red felt tip marker, and then I'll mark the next one that I use with a blue felt tip marker, and then red and blue all the way around, so that I'll end up with 20 marked with red and 20 marked with blue. And like I said, that's the big index ring, also from Chief Wear Kits. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with this. Oh, by the way, the other day I found some really nice curly maple. Good curly maple's hard to find. I don't know if you can see the curls in this or not, but this is some really good curly maple. I'm going to have to do something with that pretty soon. I'm going to have to think up a project to use that for. But let's get started with this turning, and I'll show you how I do it. Now, in order to do this turning, I'm going to be using, I like to make a lot of patterns on one sheet. I'm going to be using this pattern right here. Now I put this in green to make it more visible to the camera, but it's actually going to be yellow heart. And the black ones are going to be the lost segments. In this pattern, the only way I could get it to really work is using 20 segments per ring. Now I've never done a 20 segment per ring before, so I've been making some new PDF files, and I got 20 segments per ring printed out here. And the fact is, I have a whole new PDF file made just for this big index ring. For this index ring right here, this is the one from Chief Wear Kits. The big index ring. Actually, I think this is the little one. Where's the big one? That's the big one. So, I have made PDF files, or one PDF file now. It's got all the even numbered segment possibilities with a new index ring down to 12. I didn't do 10, 8, 6. I only went to 12, and I didn't do the odd numbers, which of course, if you want, you can actually make a open segmented turn with the odd numbers. Only thing is, for the closed segment ring on the top, if you do half ring glue ups, that's an impossibility with an odd number. But with that being said, I now have a PDF file for 96, 72, 60, 48, 36, 32, 30, 24, 20, 18, 16, and 12. So that new file, if you want a copy of it, just email me and I'll send you a copy. No problem there. So I'm going to, like I said, use this pattern. And unlike patterns, if you make a diamond pattern, for instance, you're limited to the number of rings because of the diamond. Diamonds are always an odd number. You can make it with 3, with 5, 7, 9, etc. But you are limited to the number of rings by the diamond. You don't want half a diamond or quarter of a diamond. But with this pattern, right here, I can make it as tall as I want by just adding 3 more rings onto it. So I could add 3 rings or 6 or 9, make it as tall as I want. And in this particular case, I'm going to make it, here's a half drawing with kind of an egg shape. And I want it this tall. And it's going to be at the base, it's going to be about 5 3/4 inches. I got a piece of 6-inch material I'm using for the bottom. And I want these open spaces, when I take out the wood, to be fairly the same width and height. So I'm using a material that's approximately the same height as the width of the open segment is the average size open segment. I'm using 3/4 inch material in for it. And I've got material here. This is going to be the lost segments. Now the lost segment, because they're only held in with hot melt glue, I'm going to use the lightest wood I got. And I don't mean light color, I mean lightweight. And I got some poplar here that's really light I'm going to use for that. This will be the lost segments. And I've got yellow heart cut, and I've also got red heart cut for it. So I'm going to go with these. And I've machined these down to 3/4 of an inch. That's what I'm going to use. And the base, I'm going to want to put a dark base on it. So I've got a piece of Catalogs here. And I'm going to use this for the base. And like I always do for the bases, if you've watched any of my videos, I'm going to put it in the coal jaws. I'm going to cut a mortise in for my chuck. And I'm going to turn a ring around the edge to guide the bound saw, and I'm going to put it in the chuck. I'm going to dish it out and make a flat area on the edge, turn it flat and sound it to start gluing the segments on. Now, these lost wood segments are going to be put in with hot melt glue so I can take them out. So, let me find my sheet here somewhere I made. Here's a little drawing. This will be the 4 lost segments, just one piece of them. And here's the regular turning around it. The ones I got circled will be the hot melt glue, and the rest of them will all be tight bound. So half of some of these will be, one side will be tight bound, one side will be hot melt. So you may ask, why even bother putting them in? Why not just build it with the open spaces? Well, I would, except for one thing. When you try and glue on an open segment, you got to have complete support underneath it to get it right. So that's the only reason I'm putting them in, is just so I can support the ones on top. So, with all that being said, I think I'll get started making the base for it. This is actually about a 6-inch piece, so I should be able to get 5 3/4 from it. Might end up 5 1/2. Either way, it's close enough. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this up, turn the mortise, turn the groove around the edge, and then cut it with a bandsaw. Okay, I got the base, got a mortise cut in it for my chuck. Around the edge I cut a groove, then I bandsawed it following the groove all the way around. Now I'm ready to mount it in the chuck. I'm going to dish the inside out so I can get it started. Going to turn the edge round. Then I'm going to make about a 1-inch flat area to start gluing the segments onto. And let's see, it's about just a little over 5 3/4. I should be able to get 5 3/4 from it. Maybe a little less. Don't make a difference. The base is prepared now. I got it ready. Slight dish in the center, about 1 inch on the edge, flat and sanded flat. Now, I need to cut the segments for the first open segment row. That'd be this row right here. And because of this angle through them, I'm going to have to make these pieces fairly wide, 1 1/4 inches. And we're using 20 segments per ring now. So I'm going to have to set it up for open segments an angle of 6.3 degrees. That's no problem. I've got my digital angle finder. That's one of the handiest tools I've ever bought. It's well worth the money I paid for it, I believe. It's quite accurate. So I'm going to use that to set it up for 6.3 degrees. And then I'm going to make these segments for a 7 1/2 inch ring. That's 3 3/4 from the center. So 7 1/2 inch ring is going to be 0.831519. So I'm going to set them up for 0.831519 and cut them. I've got 20 segments cut. Got them lined up in the order I'm going to glue them on in. Now, like I said, because of the angle that the wall's going through, these need to be 1 1/4 inches wide. This direction is actually the width, and this direction's the length, which cut length is determined by the diameter of the circle, naturally. So, I got these cut, ready to glue on. So the next thing I'm going to do is set up the gluing platform, and I'm going to get my hot melt glue gun hot, and then go ahead and glue the first row on. Now I've got to go ahead and set up the gluing platform, which of course, let me get it out here. I'm going to use this gluing platform here, this Chief Wear Kits platform. I could use my homemade one, but I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to over the lathe and set this up just like I did in the video where I first used this, same way. Put the drill chuck on it, put it in the tailstock, put the post underneath, bring the post up to here, get it level, then just move it up close to the turning and I'll be ready to go. Okay, I've got my platform set, which level, eyeball level. I've got the post set right up against the center here. Got the drill index in. Got it locked. I've got the quill locked down. Got the tailstock locked. I've got this set at 3 3/4 inches. Now I'm ready to glue on the first segment. Now first segment I'm going to glue on Jello Heart, and it's going to be glued on just like a normal segment, normal open segment with a little light coat of tight bond glue, very light coat. Hold it for 10 seconds. For 10 seconds. I just rotate it out of the way. And I'm going to go to the next red index. Now this one is one of the space fillers, one of the ones that's going to get missing later. Now that's got to be glued on with hot melt glue. I am not going to put glue on the bottom and put it on. I'd never be able to get it off later. So what I'm going to do, put it up there, put a slight bit of hot melt glue on the inside and some on the outside just to hold it. Don't want it on there permanently, so I'll just put a little hot melt glue right here on the outside. Just a touch. Now, got to put a tiny bit on the inside. Bit tricky. Get it on the inside, but I got some on the inside. Now I'll let that dry a little bit. Just let it sit there and dry for a second. Then I'll be ready to glue on the next segment. The next 3 segments are all glued on with tight bond. So I'm going to go ahead and work my way all around the ring. Now these space fillers, just a spot of glue, hot melt glue on the inside and on the outside, so I'll be able to remove the segments later. Got them glued on the first row. 16 of them with tight bond. There's 4 with hot melt glue, just on the inside here and on the outside here. Now I'm going to take the hot melt glue gun and just make sure they've got enough glue here to hold them while I sand them flat and glue on the next ring. Okay, I'm ready to put on the second row. Looking at the pattern on the second row, I'm going to need 4 for the bloodwood. I'm going to need 8 of the yellow heart and 8 of this real light poplar, the removable wood. And looking at my drawing here, I'm going to make this ring 8 1/4 inch. So 8 1/4 inch, 20 open segments, means I got to cut them at 0.9146, 0.915 is close enough. And I'll be using 1 inch wide material from now on out for everything. So I'm going to set this table saw up and cut some segments. Got the segments cut for the second ring. I know I said I only needed them 1 inch wide, but I already had some of the larger stock cut, so I just went ahead and cut these with a larger stock. Won't make any difference, just turn it away. Of course, these small ones are only 1 inch, but now's when it gets tricky, putting this ring on. This glued on with tight bound, this one will be glued on with tight bound, but this poplar segments, both of them, one side will be glued with tight bound and the other side will have hot melt glue on the inside and the outside, so that it's held to the yellow heart segments with just tight bound, but it's held to the poplar segment below with tight bound. So I'm going to go ahead and set it up and start gluing these in. See if I can show how that's done. It's a little bit tricky, but it ain't bad. Okay, I've got it set up. I've got this stop block set at 4 1/8 inch from the center. I'm going to start with the red one. It glues right on top of 2 red ones. These are the permanent segments. So I'm going to just glue it on with tight bound 2 glue like I always do. And I'm using the blue indexes this time, of course. So I'm going to start putting this one on. Same way I always do. Very light layer of tight bound. Glue it on for 10 seconds. Now I'm going to put on the yellow one. Now I'm not going to show that, I'm just going to glue the yellow one on. Now is where it gets tricky. What I'm going to be doing, I got this one glued onto the base. Now I'm putting these 2 in. And one side's going to be hot melt, and the other side's going to be tight bound. So, I've got the segment here, and the tight bound's going to go to the other removable segment, which is right here. So I've got to put tight bound along here. Be sure it don't get up where it's going to glue onto the permanent ones. And I don't care if it's a light coat or heavy coat because it's coming out anyway. So I'm going to glue it in for 10 seconds, and then I'm going to go and put hot melt glue on the other joint. I don't want to stay just on one side. I'm going to have to put hot melt on it before I move it out. Let me put a little hot melt on the outside. I can get the inside later. Okay. We'll let that set for a while. So now this one goes on the same way, only the glue goes on the other side, so it's glued to the removable ones. So I'm going to put a little bit of tight bound on here. Just one side. Not too much. And I'm going to hold it in here. And hit the other side with a hot melt. If I can get in there, that is. Get tight. Okay, I got that. See if it's going to hold. Oh yeah, it's holding good. Now then, the next ones go on, again, just with tight bound, and I'm going to work my way all the way around putting the rest of them on. Second row glued on. Now, I want to tell you something. This segment here, when I glued it on, held it for 10 seconds, it wouldn't stay on, it fell off. I tried it again, it fell off again. What that means is it wasn't flat. What I did, I turned it over and glued the other side on, it stayed on fine. Then when I sanded it, I chalked it real good and watched it, and sure enough, it wasn't perfectly flat. Now, I'd run it through the drum sander and it was supposed to be flat, but even though it looked flat and it should have been flat, it wasn't. So, if they get one that falls off like that, it's not flat. So yeah, I got them all glued on now, the second row. And I've got the ones cut for the third row. And this is really why this throwaway pieces are on here, because when I go to glue the piece on here, no way it'll stay on unless it's completely supported underneath. So I need that support, even though it'll be hot melt glued to it. Without it, I couldn't get it glued on to just one piece and have it stay. So yeah, that's the whole purpose of these, just so I can glue the pieces on over the top. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother putting them in. Okay, I've got the third row cut and ready to put on. It's going to be 8 3/4 inch diameter. I got the stop block to set 4 3/8, which is half. I'm getting ready to glue them on. Now, this is the third row, which is this row here. And it would be impossible to get these red heart pieces, or the bloodwood pieces, excuse me, on and get them to stick without the support underneath. Just trying to glue one side on would be completely impossible. So, I'm going to go ahead and glue it on. In this case, the bloodwood will have the hot melt glue joint on it. Of course, the other side will be glued down with tight bound tube. So I'm going to go ahead and just glue this row on the same as the others. Okay, the third ring's on. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start turning the inside. I'm going to turn it into the first ring, just the first ring. And when I do, I'll be cutting the hot melt glue off the first ring on the inside. So it'll hold, but I'm sure not going to stand in a line of fire. So I'll cut it just into the first ring, and then as I proceed up, I'll cut more and more of the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the inside of the first ring. I've turned the inside now all the way up to the fourth ring, which means that I've cut all the hot melt glue out for these first three pieces. First four pieces, it's 3 rings high. So what I'm going to do now, before I go any further, is take the hot melt glue off the outside of these first sets and remove them. That way I don't have to worry about them flying out later. So I'm going to go ahead and remove some hot melt glue and take them out. Okay, I got 4 pieces out. But just like that, when I take them out, they're glued together with tight bound. Just where they meet the other pieces had to hot melt. So all 4 are out. And these 4 big gaping holes here. So now I can go ahead and add more on. I don't have to worry about these anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and sand it. Add the 7th, 8th, 9th ring, so on. And as I work my way up, I will turn and sand the inside and then take more pieces out as I get above them far enough. There's a new glue from Tightbound called Quick and Thick. I was told about it and asked to try it. I don't know if it works good or not. Might be too thick, might get too much squeeze out, I don't know. If I can get a thin enough layer. I don't know if it's any quicker, so I'm going to try this and see if I can get one to stick on and say, oh, 5 seconds. See if I can get a light enough layer on it. It is a little bit thick. See if I can get a light layer. It is thick, that's for sure. Now let's try 5 seconds. Looks like it's going to hold. Sure does. See how it dries. Now let's do the rest of the ring with it and see what happens. We'll do this one ring with it. So I put all the ones on with that quick and thick. I did them all in 5 seconds, of course, except the ones with the hot melt glue. And now the question is, are they glued on good? They don't seem to have too much squeeze out. Of course, I put it on as thin as I could. So, let me see if I can pull one loose. No way I can pull it loose. It's on there. That was 5 seconds. There's another one. Yeah, 5 seconds has got them. I'm going to say it's good. It works. I'm just going to do that one ring. When I cut it, I'll see what kind of a seam it leaves, but it looks like just any other seam from what I can tell now. So yeah, 5 seconds for that glue. Trouble is, the biggest bottle I seen was this size right here. That really ain't enough to do much. 8 fluid ounces. I usually buy glue at a gallon at a time. I've got the 9th ring on now. And I've got the inside turned, sanded, and finished up far enough so I can remove these pieces that are on rows 4, 5, and 6. So, I've already got these removed. Now I'm going to get this set removed, all 4 of them. I'm going to just cut the hot melt glue off and then push them out. Okay, I got these pieces cut out now. They're starting to look like a piece of Swiss cheese. So I've got to add 3 more rows and keep turning the inside. Then I'll put the top ring on after I get 3 more rows and I can pull all the rest of them out. I've got all the open segments on now. Now I need to put the closed segment on the top. And I think I'm going to use this wood here. It's a piece of mystery wood I got. Don't say what it is. But it looks to be one of the rosewood, the rosewood family. There's 1,000 different kinds of rosewood, but this looks like rosewood. I splashed a little finish on it to see what it'll look like. So yeah, I think I'm going to use this. Now, I'm going to need a 6-inch ring with 20 segments. And I've never made a ring with 20 segments before, but that shouldn't be a problem. First thing I did was make me a push stick for my disc sander so I can sand the sides. Then if I need to adjust the angle on the segments, I can use that to adjust the angle on the segments, because I don't expect it to fit the first time I dry clamp it. So, take my cheat sheet here. 6 inches, ring, 20 segments is going to be 0.950307. 0.95, close enough. The angle's going to be 9 degrees, so the angle's no problem. I use my digital angle finder, set my fence up to 9 degrees. I've already done that. So, I am going to set this for 0.95. Then I'm going to rip about 1 inch off the side of this Now I'm going to cut 20 segments. I got them cut, sanded, and dry clamped. Now I wouldn't expect them to come out right on the first try, having never done 20 before, and having not calibrated my push stick first time using it, so you know it's not going to be exactly right. So, got a gap on the inside, which means they're cut at too much angle. Means I got to change the angle on them. At least one of them. I'm going to change the angle, I think, on 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And sand them to less angle just a little bit. It won't really affect the diameter that much. And when I cut this, I realized immediately what it was by the smell. It's cocobolo. So I'm going to go ahead and sand these, change the angle a little bit, and then I'll glue them up. Now, of course, you could use a half ring glue up method. It's perfectly acceptable and it'll work. But I like the single ring glue up, so that's what I'm going to do. This has got all the open segments on. This has been sanded flat. It's been turned up inside quite a ways. I'm not going any further until I get the top on now. Now, when I glue the top ring on, it's ready to go. I can't believe I'm putting cocobolo on it. That's cocobolo. I can only glue it to the bloodwood and the yellow heart. I don't want it glued to the removable pieces, which means I can't smear glue on it and bring it up. So I'm going to have to put glue on just the bloodwood and the yellow heart and then bring it up, making sure the joints on this closed ring sit right on top of the segment. So, a little bit of glue on the yellow hearts and the bloodwood only. After these dry, I'll put the hot melt glue on the others. Skip that one. Now then, bring it up and make sure the joints sit right on top of the segment. Line it up and clamp her down. Good. Now I'm going to let it sit a while and then put the hot melt glue on. I've got the top glued on. It's 20 segment ring. Now each joint of the segment is right over one of the open segments, which gives it long grain glue up across the joint, gives it strength. But when I remove these pieces, it's going to leave 4 of the joints hanging out in the air. And basically this is an ingrained joint here. So what I'm going to do to give it strength, I'm going to flatten this surface, sand it, give it a good glue surface. Then I'm going to part this in half, and I'm going to turn it around and glue it back on so I get cross grain or long grain glue ups across all the joints. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn this, flatten it, and then part it. It's been parted off. I got a good flat glue surface here, been turned flat and sanded. And of course on the parted off piece I have that good glue surface here. So I'm going to glue this one back on so that I get long grain glue ups across all the joints. And that'll give me the strength I want for the top ring. Put a little glue on this. I don't want too much. Put it in the tailstock. Put it up. Spin it around. Get the glue spread out here good. Tighten it a little bit. Yeah, get squeeze out here all the way around. Yeah. Give me some squeeze out now. All the way around, yeah. Now, get these right in the center, right where we get the joint on this ring I'm gluing back on will fall right between the segments, which gives me good bricklay and glue joint for the top here. Now, we'll just let her sit a while now, then I'll be able to be ready to finish turning the inside. After I get the inside turned, I'm going to put the cone on it and bring it up and then turn the outside. The inside's been finished turned. I turned the top down a little bit so I don't have to try and get to it when I put the cone in. And I sanded it and finished it. Now it's time to take out these last pieces. I'll cut the hot melt glue on the outside and take them out. Now, a few people have asked me why I turn the inside first. Well, this here is a good reason. If I tried to get in here and turn the whole inside from the bottom up, it wouldn't be easy at all. Not at all easy. But if I turn, as I go build it out, if I turn the inside as I work my way up, it's rather easy. So there's a big difference in trying to get in through here and turn it way down in there. And that's why I turn the inside as I work my way out. So right now I'm going to just remove these last 8 pieces here of removables. Then I'm going to bring the cone up and we'll turn the outside. I've got the center cone now up in it. Not real tight, just enough to stop the vibration. This end was getting a little bit of vibration when I turned in it, so this will stop the vibration. Like I said, not real tight. I don't want to squeeze it real hard. So now I'm ready to go ahead and start turning the outside. Okay, it's been turned, sanded, finished, put on it, and I'm ready to turn it over and do the bottom. And it was really hard to turn. This particular stick of bloodwood dulls my tools like worse than anything I've ever seen. Worse than pecan, worse than IPE. I think I spent more time sharpening tools than I did turning. Anyway, now I'm going to take it off. Use the cold jaws to hold the top. Hold it from the inside because it's curving in. And then I'll bring up the center point on the tailstock, and I'll go ahead and turn the bottom. I've got it on the cold jaws in the front. I've got the center point up in the back, and I'm just going to turn it a little bit here just to finish it. And it won't take much. All I have to do, it's got a mortise in it instead of a tenon. All I have to do is just round this out here and leave a little bit of a foot here on that side, and I'll be done with it. What I didn't show in this video, and I should have, I show it in my other videos, is every ring after you put it on has to be sanded flat. If you want the segments to stay, you need a flat surface. So you use the sanding board and sand them all flat. You chalk them and sand them flat. Like I said, I show it in my other videos, but I forgot to do it in this one. I got too busy, carried away showing other stuff, I guess. So keep that in mind, that they do have to be sanded flat. Okay, here it is finished. Don't look like much, I know, but mostly for demo. You can see where the pieces come out on it. And Got a whole stack of these pieces that came out. I mean, just a whole stack of them, actually 16. Anyway, I hope you learned something from it. And if you do one, just remember, these are only held in by hot melt glue. So when you're turning it, before you take the pieces out, do not get in the line of fire of them. And, like I said before, I have a new cheat sheet I made on PDF format. It covers open and closed segments for 96 per ring, 72 per ring, 60 per ring, 48 per ring, 36, 32, 30, 24, 20, 18, 16, and 12. All of the even numbers down to 12 that you can do on the big index wheel. It's got both open and closed segments, cut angles, and cut lengths. So if you want a copy of that PDF file, I'll tell you what you do. You subscribe to my channel and then send me an email. And I got my email address here or up here somewhere. I'm going to have my email address. So I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you learned something. And again, be safe turning, have fun. Thank you, and come back and see my next video.